leaders, and everyone present in this room, media persons. My take is on Mr. Agnostos Theos. And before coming to him, we need to understand how this event has been organized. But we had no clue how this event has been organized, because the very promotional posters that they have been circulating in different social medias, it doesn't mention any name of organizers. So there seems to be a deceiving attempt to represent something else and try and do something else. So that is a very important issue or concern for everyone, that who organized what event, on what objective and on what purpose. But as per our research, our very limited research capacity, we feel that the entire coverage have been telecasted in a YouTube page endorsed by KSO Delhi and NCR. And the logo of the organization, it seems the logo of the organization are also on the screen. So we feel that this event, the very event that held in New Delhi, was organized by KSO Delhi and NCR, represented by Mr. The person whom I'm going to take on, Mr. Agnostos Theos. So I think it is very insignificant for us to observe and discuss on this person, Mr. Agnostos Theos, because he just don't have any credibility in the larger national platforms or state platforms or anywhere where he has any significant role to play. But over the course of time during this crisis situation in Manipur, we have seen him in some of the couple of interviews where he was trying and narrate his own idea of understanding, which seems to be quite significantly influenced by those groups who are on the other side of the this crisis. So, but if we go and look back in his other interview, he already has taken his position. And the way the event has been managed, we are quite confirmed that Mr. Agnostos Theos is a representative. He is a kind of informal representation of KSO Delhi and NCR, and they are trying to project an event which looks like neutral, but taking the credibility or the advantage of those personalities who are on stage, giving their viewpoints. Many of them were eminent personalities of the country, and whatever they say could have a very credible points, whatever they make among the general larger population of the country. So that's what they try and use the platform. Well, coming to the point, what he has met, as he being the most active host during that event, we thought that we also need to rebut some of his views, which are quite unfounded and seems to be quite vested interest. Number one, the first point he made in his opinion is that the arms were, he often used the word handed overs, arms being handed over, handed overs of arms. He has used it several times. He never say that looted arms. The whole country is saying looted arms, but Mr. Agnostos Theos says it's a handed over of arms. But I think if it's handed over of arms, then the first instance of handing over of the arms happens to be in 𝗔𝗛𝗏. We have seen the video. First looting also happens to be in 𝗔𝗛𝗏. We have seen the local gun house being looted, and CCTV footage were completely coming out on viral. So And there were also instances where the local youths were trying to, loot their arms from the armed courts somewhere in Bishnupur district. I think one of the attempting looters or the attempting, arms looting, attempting youth were also being shot at. So if that incident happens to be an handing over of arms, people would not have died. Which means that the word that he's using, the term that he's using is completely more of, his narrative is more of a propaganda rather than an academic debate where you have any substantial basis to justify what you are saying. So the incident that had happened across the state of looting arms was very spontaneous, and nobody was expecting that, and it was never a handing over of arms. We cannot simply conclude in that one. Number 2 point, he used the word martial law should be imposed in Manipur in May 23 itself, as more than 7,000 guns, 7 lakh bullets, and nearly 14,500 bombs have been handed over. And he even used the word, it's a handing over of weapon of mass destruction. This is the term. So he's trying to aggravate that very, unfortunate situations. In her next point, he said, our armed forces are now at risk and already losing their lives because of these guns. But as per the records that Cocomi has, till date, all the armed forces which Mr. Agnostos Theos is referring to, the central armed forces, and even the state armed forces, state police, everyone, whoever died during this crisis are from the bullets of the Kuki militants and Kuki terrorist bullets. Not a single armed forces died from the bullets of village volunteers that belongs to the 𝗞𝗛𝗨𝗥𝗔𝗜𝗄 groups. So what he is trying to justify is completely opposite. He is trying to justify that the looted arms are being handed over by the state to particularly to the 𝗞𝗏 and Arambai Tangol. He has mentioned it. But the losing of lives, armed forces lives, was from the bullets of the other side, from the Kuki militant terrorist groups. So he's contradicting himself in this line. Then he also claims that Arambai Tangol is now openly, proudly and publicly opening branches across the country. First, he tried to label the looting of arms as a kind of, handed over arms. And he fixed the responsibility to Arambai Tangol and 𝗞𝗏𝗏 as 90% of the arms being, looted or handed over to them. Then he come into the point that Arambai Tangol has already started opening branches in mainland Indian states. And he has repeatedly written a letter to concerned state like West Bengal, Chandigarh and New Delhi. And he said there is no response at all. But there isn't supposed to be any response because Arambai Tangol are not being labeled or considered as a terrorist groups. They are cultural activists at one point of time. Because of the compelling situation, they have to volunteer themselves to defend the vulnerable villages and their own relatives and keen ones. There was a circumstantial compulsion that led them to hold up arms, whether it may be lawful or unlawful. So, but on the very program, Agnostos Theos tried to brand them as terrorist groups, and opening of their branches in other states is considered as illegal. But on the contrary, let's come into, if we look at the president of KSO NCR Delhi, Mr. Paujako Guite, who was also taking part in that event during the interactive session. When he was interviewed by one of the media in Jantar Mantar and asked about the massive opium poppy cultivation in the hill areas, he said he had been studying in Delhi for past 4-5 years. he has no idea about opium poppy cultivation. So that's the level of deceitful, character, I should say, they carry, and they can say it openly in front of the national media that he has no idea of poppy cultivation in Manipur. He came to Delhi for studies, he has no idea, and he is in Delhi for past 4-5 years. So that is where Agnostos Theos must pay much attention. Another point he made is violence and arms. Because of those looted arms, the 7,000 guns and other 7 lakh bullets and so, it may spread across the country. And it may also be, it must have also been exported out of the country. This is how Mr. Agnostos Theos tried to aggravate. But in reality, the problem is with the unaccounted arms smuggled from across the international border in Manipur over the past so many years, which nobody knows, and which are being majoritarily brought in by the armed militant groups who are in suspension of operations and many other people. Because during this conflict, people have seen several videos where American-made automatic rifles and several other sophisticated rifles which are not available in India are being used. Where did that come from? So did Mr. Agnostos Theos even had an idea of this severity of that, cross-international border smuggling of arms? Huge number of gelatin sticks and IED materials are being confiscated in Mizoram during this conflict. Huge number. He didn't mention that. Those are the things that is going to, spread violence and situations, terrorist situations across the country. Because those arms are being smuggled illegally and without anybody's notice. So it can reach anywhere. But those arms which are being taken over from the arms code during the conflict by the local youths are maybe still confined in this valley because there is no other means to take it beyond the state. You don't have a route. You cannot go by air taking all sort of ammunitions and automatic rifles. And we already take our position that narco-terrorism has already spread across the states in northeastern India. And we have already made our appraisal to the concerned state governments in northeast to come in together to have a dedicated narco-terrorist cell or enforcement bureau so that the issues can be handled in a coordinated manner by all the states together. So this is the more serious question, issues than what Mr. Agnostos has been trying to propagate. Another important issues. He was justifying the imposition of president rules in Manipur. He even said that president's rules should be imposed right from the day one. But we feel that endorsing president rule over a popular elected government, endorsing president rules in a democratic state where parliamentary democracies are at its function, it makes no sense at all because these are martial laws. And Manipur already had a bitter president rules in the past, and we have experienced a very traumatic and very unfortunate events that has already taken place in the past. So Manipur people, including across party line, the Congress party president, the legislators of Manipur State Assembly, the civil society groups, the senior political activists, and many other, everyone was against president rule in the state. But even if it's against the interest and appeal of the entire population, the government of India still decided to impose president rule, justifying it through a very, designed or anticipated kind of political instability, which we feel that everything has been pre-planned and, to just justify the circumstances to impose president rules in the state. So in a democratic state or in a democratic country, president rules can be only justified when there is an external aggression and there is a national emergency. Otherwise, if you have a popular elected government, popular elected legislatures with absolute numbers, there is no room for president rules at all. The army has been operating with its hands tied, and hopefully that will change now. This is another statement made by Mr. Agnostos Theos. I think he is more into supporting the martial law. He wants the army to reign in Manipur. He don't believe in the democratic process. He don't want the people's representative to administer over their own people. So such attitude and justifying the army's role, army's aggression, is something that the separatist groups that belongs to the Chinkuki communities have been pursuing for the past 2 years. And it is in the same line Mr. Agnostos Theos is trying to pursue. In the latter part of his narration, he identified himself very clearly. Maybe it's out of, his subconscious state. While he was trying to quote the Solicitor General of India, he identified himself that the solicitor stated in court, Lordship, this is a Sikh gentleman, Sikh means the Punjabi Sikh gentleman with a Christian name, runs a business chamber and lives in Pitampura. He was quoting the statement of the Solicitor General giving in the court, but he's introducing and identifying himself that he is a Sikh Christian. He runs a business chamber. He lives in Pitampura. So the Solicitor General said he has no locus to issue any or to ask any questions or to show any concern in relation to the state of Manipur. We also feel the same. As I told you in my first part that Mr. Agnostos Theos has no credibility at all to discuss on Manipur. If he is taking position, if he is being a neutral citizen of the country, he can have a very holistic approach and he can appeal to both sides of the community to settle down, to come in a process of reconciliation, to come in a process of dialogue, whatever. But he has already taken his position in his previous interviews. He is now representing the KSO Delhi and NCR. And now he is identifying himself as, he acknowledged and he introduced himself that he is a Christian. He runs a business chamber in Pitampura and lives in Pitampura. So where is his locus again? We want to ask. And how come he could, organize that event without even having any, responsible organizers to take the responsibility of that event? And lastly, but not the least, I would like to conclude with these points that we are trying to, initiate such kind of engagement, maybe in the form of rebuttal, maybe in the form of reviewing, because over the past 21 months, many of the mainstream media channel, many of the people, if we go through the timeline of the events that started on 3rd of May, if you look at the timeline of event and the activity that's going on across the WhatsApp groups that belongs to those separatist groups, it is quite evident that everything was pre-planned, premeditated, and many of the national medias are being engaged in advance to pursue their agenda. And it took almost 20 months for us to, realize and take decision that such kind of misinformation and disinformation campaigns needs to be tackled, handled, so that some sense of truth, some sense of reliability should prevail, so that every concerned citizen of the country can take the can help themselves in taking judicious decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Athoba. Now we come to a very important part of this session. We will have an interactive session. I shall be requesting our esteemed guests to raise questions, to point out to the person they are raising the question,